what do you hear when you hear like songs like from Jagged Edge? Like, what do you think? What comes to mind? What memories?
Just excitement, right? You know, I was young. I signed a Noontime when I was 19. It just feels like youth. It feels like, you know, flip phones and two-way pagers. You know what I'm saying? You know, it just feels like, you know, we were, you know, I had no money, but it didn't matter.
Crazy.
Ooh, keep me running, leave it messy. Go ahead and live in it. Swim up in it. Love it, baby.
Welcome to another week of We Sound Crazy, your official backstage pass to all things music and culture. Your boy Billionaire's in the building.
Claude Kelly is 100% in the building.
What's up? Chuck Harmony is in the building.
Baker for Macon is present in the building. How y'all feeling?
I'm feeling
great.
Feeling good around royalty.
Surrounded by greatness.
Surrounded by greatness.
I mean, royalty.
Royalty.
Music royalty.
Music royalty.
Yes. Yes.
He's produced for everybody from who we just placed, kicked it off for Ari Lennox. I think he's headed to a session this week with her.
Yeah,
at some point.
with her.
Back in, he's worked with Usher, he's worked with Mariah, he's worked with Mary, he's worked with Jagged Edge, he's worked with a lot of people.
A lot of
Grammy
legends.
Award winner, he's got Guinness Book of World Records, all types of stuff.
Crazy.
Also in the Georgia Music Hall of Fame. You're actually in that institution.
That's crazy, yo.
Ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching, we're sitting with the legend. He's a GOAT.
He's a GOAT.
Bryan-Michael Cox is in the building.
Hey. Listen.
What's up?
Yo, if you're a fan of music, you're a fan of Bryan-Michael Cox. And
Appreciate y'all, man.
If you read the credits, as we say, then they're probably sick of seeing your name. Because there are a few people in the music industry, and this is not just R&B, this is just in the music industry internationally, that have been responsible for molding the way music sounds. And the chords, and the chord changes,
Speak on it.
and the motifs, and the song structure, and the style of it all. And that's a small list of people, of which you are one of them.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man, for real, you know? For real. I received that, and I thank you.
My gut reaction or gut question that I have after listening to Pressure. This was in the last couple years. It's smashed. Like when I first heard it, I was like, this got that radio sheen on it.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, what's been the science behind your longevity? Because it's been
I think that part of it is, and I speak for myself and I can speak for Jermaine Dupri. I think part of it is that we are still very, very active in what's happening outside in the culture. You know what I mean? Like we're still very active. You know what I mean? He's been DJing, doing residencies. I've been DJing. You know, when you go, everybody goes through. You know, we have ups and downs.
Yeah, there's waves.
It's ebb and flow, right? Yeah. So I think that for us, when you're going through a time where maybe the kind of music you're making isn't the most popular music at the time, you're not getting all the calls, then I shifted to curating events, or curating parties, and being a DJ, and actually be, going to these places, and people were like, "Oh, B Cox about the DJ," and then completely, shifting the vibe of the party. Like, oh no, then the word gets around. Oh, because I'm being a producer, I mean, it's all about taste, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the one thing I've always had on my side is that I always believe I have great taste in music, and what I like, whether a part of it or not, you know what I'm saying? I have good taste. And I think I've been able to curate that taste, and Jermaine too's been able to curate his taste. And you just you stay down until the pendulum swings it back your way, right? Yeah. So then, around what started happening was, I would say maybe around like 2017, 2018, we've been working on an Usher album for many years. We kind of shut everything else down and was working on this Usher album from like 2016, 2017 on. And we made a record in the midst of, like maybe around 2019, we made a record called Don't Waste My Time.
Yeah.
And then that record, I think, because everybody was so excited to hear what we were cooking up with them. So when they dropped that record and it became like a hit, but then the pandemic hit, it was just like I guess the culture, just a force of nature. You know what I'm saying? Of how people started gravitating back to the genre of music that is the music that I make. That
melodic.
And that's, you just got to stay in the game. I think for me, we just stayed in the game. It's like we just stayed in the game. We stayed connected with people, even when things weren't going well. When people weren't buying songs. It just, you just stay connected. And I think that you make songs that are so potent that they kind of just last. And so when you're in a down period, a record like Burn is still playing on the radio.
Still burning.
It's still burning.
It's still burning.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And then people start sampling your stuff. So, like the Bryson thing. Bryson sampled Mariah Shake It Off. And then, Mariah, all we did was just get the, Mariah's approval and saw what the percentage she asked for, and they accepted it. I was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna get.
Okay.
So it's just, man, been blessed. We have God's favor on us.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, I had the pleasure of attending parties where Bryan-Michael Cox is the DJ.
Yes, sir.
I actually attended one in Las Vegas, and this is a true story. It was easier for me to get into the Usher show and backstage at Usher show than to get into this after party. I had to make a few more calls. I'm in LA Reid and all types of people. Like, hey, bro, it was easier to get into Usher's show and backstage.
The after party was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I had to, but it was a great time, but just well curated. But it was a great time.
Yeah. So just all those things, I think, just and I think also too, man, just y'all know me for a long time. I think that how I treat people, how we treat each other,
yes, sir,
consistently
is how it's just why things.
100%.
100%. You got to treat people good. And talk.
It is a relationship
business,
and how you treat people carries and goes a long way. And I was gonna say also, like, everything is a blessing. Like, those waves are a blessing, right? Yes. Because the time that you spend DJing, right, which is, I think, pivotal time, especially for producers and songwriters, because you spend so much time huddled in the studio. It's just like a bat cave. Yeah. But getting out there and seeing what really moves people.
Yes.
Like what makes them dance, what makes them cry, like emotionally moves them, makes you do better records when you go back to the studio.
1000%.
Yes.
1000%.
Way better records.
It's literally the number one tool that I have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's the number one tool in my toolbox. Outside of course, practicing and, I'm really back practicing like I'm in high school again, piano, you know what I'm saying? But outside of like practicing, and DJing is like my number one tool at this point to understand what people want to hear and melodically and I'm telling you, man, seeing it shift to what we do, you know what I mean? Again, is pretty amazing to watch. Like that I've been in this business this long to see it be at the top and then go away and then come back. It's really amazing. You know what I'm saying?
How much does technology affect how you do records today?
Well, what's interesting now is kind of a hybrid, right? Because at one point I got rid of all my keyboards and all my, you know what I mean, and just went straight in the box and was making records in that space, right? And made some, things, some really great things in the box. But then what happens is when you start hearing music, you see the music swing back, and people are asking, fans are asking. For specific sounding records. Like, yo, what you make another Just Be a Man about it. Make another, you know what I mean? For me, now it's like a hybrid. Like, I'm kind of back into keyboards. So I've started buying keyboards again. So it's kind of like a blend of what, I could still pack on my laptop and go to the studio and just, if I got a session like I had a session at a studio that's not my spot. I just put a laptop up. I could still get to work, but like in my environment, I'm buying keyboards again. I'm buying keyboards. I have all kinds of keyboards in my crib now at the studio, Jermaine. I got keyboards everywhere now again. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still using the laptop or using the computer as the center of it all. So I use keyboards as audio and just kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm still tweaking it because I'm using the MP too. So I helped develop the MPCX. So I'm using the MP also. So like in the midst of all that, I'm still tweaking it, but it's like a hybrid now.
Do you get nervous when you go in the studio? Do you get butterflies when you have to go with the artist? Is there still pressure behind, or do you just
not anymore, man? I mean, to me, the studio is the most comfortable place for me.
Yeah.
It's actually the most comfortable place.
Agreed, yeah.
Like I get nervous the only time I get nervous is right before I got to do a set, right before I got to DJ. Because you kind of don't know, like, you have to gauge the crowd and hopefully, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, hopefully what you're doing is going to move them, you know what I mean? Yeah. But in the studio, I am the most comfortable in the studio. Like, you know, we gonna figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
I still, and it's not nerves. There's this pressure I put on myself of like, I just really want to be able to deliver.
Yeah.
And so there's always that moment before I'm like, all right, nigga, like you better come up with some shit today. Yeah. And then your skill and your experience and all that stuff kicks in. And
experience kicks in
and all. So it's not, but it's just that it's that applied pressure of like. And I mean, when big people are coming to the studio, you want to make sure that you're not, you know, time is.
Yeah.
You know
what I'm saying? You can lose them.
You can lose them. Like,
you
you understand that, like
you
the bigger the artist doesn't mean they're not any less dope. It's just that time. There's only so many hours you have Mariah in the studio for, or Mary, or like you will lose them, and then no one can really tell them to really force them to stay.
True. I think ultimately, though, too, is about being prepared, right? I think that most times, too, when I get a call about an artist or whatever, it's okay, cool. You know, I'll spend at least 24 hours before. I'll spend at least 24 hours the day before
doing
preparing, and maybe I'll, what sound do I want to go for? What loops I'm going to pull? If there's a sample, let me listen to some records, some samples I want to use. Let me gather these samples, drop them on a drive, and you know what I mean. Let me listen to some and see what inspires me from a chord progression perspective. Like I try to walk in with at least some type of like outline of what.
I mean, you can just tell by the consistency that you're doing your homework because it's also about knowing exactly what sounds, what keys, what tempos work for artists.
Exactly.
And that's a big part of what I'm saying when I say producers are A&Rs.
Yeah.
Songwriters are A&Rs because it's just knowing the right tempo to put someone in at that time in their life too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like just knowing what's the appropriate tempo and key and mood for.
Exactly. And I think too, it's important to have conversation. I think one of the biggest lessons I learned as a songwriter actually was the songs and the conversation. So like I always tell the story about You Got It Bad, where it was my first time working with Usher. I was absolutely nervous. This is, early 20s. This is my first time working with him. And I was nervous. He's one of my favorite artists. He was the only artist I really wanted to work with at the time. And when I got the call, I was when Jermaine called me, like, yo, we're gonna do Usher. I'm like, yes, and then I remember sitting when he came to the studio, me, him, and Jermaine in the studio. I kind of, because I didn't know him well, so I'm kind of just sitting,
playing
idle, cool, sitting aside, and they're talking, and Jermaine's like, yo, man, they started engaging me in the conversation. So then I started responding and talking, and I'm like, we talking for like 2 hours, like, well, when we gonna get to some music,
Yeah.
And I realized in that conversation that he was actually writing the song.
Yeah.
Because after the conversation, we went in there and we wrote You Got It Bad, and it was all about that. Whatever that conversation was. And I learned that, I was like, oh. So I learned that was a lesson as a songwriter. And as a producer, I learned less is more. Right? I learned that sometimes you can have all the skill and you want to put all the things that you've learned into one record, you know what I mean? And you want to, and all the different chord changes, and you want intros, you want sound effects, you want to, I was that kind of producer, you know what I mean? And I remember when the scratch draft of what ended up becoming You Got It Bad, I had all kinds of things going on in the song, you know what I mean? And I called you, like, JD, I'm ready. I want you to hear
hear this masterpiece.
So we start writing. He comes in there, he presses play on the drum machine, and he just starts going through the drum machine and just muting all, muting everything, basically muted everything. And then he just left, whatever you guys hear from a melody perspective, the chord progression, which is just the nylon guitar, and then it's like, there's like some wind in the back and a bass line. And he was like, we're gonna start here. And I remember being like, okay. You know?
Yeah.
And then he added a kick, a snare, a hi-hat. And then we wrote the song. The song had like 8 sounds. It was like one of the biggest records ever.
Yeah.
Simplicity is hard.
Hard.
It's really
hard.
Yeah.
Hard. But Steve Jobs said you master simplicity. You know, you look at the most successful people, they have mastered being a minimalist. They've mastered simplicity. And so You Got It Bad taught me 2 really, really important lessons as a producer and a songwriter.
At what point in your career did you just know that I'm an expert at this shit? Like, because they say always you have to do something so many times, so many hours before you can be considered an expert.
I believe that I'm an expert now, right? But we're talking about I'm 27 years in.
Yeah.
So now I can feel comfortable saying, now I feel comfortable walking into a room and saying, hey, that's not right. Or this, that, and the third. And even then, I'm still, depending on who I'm talking to and what age range I'm talking to, I still have to give myself a little room. You know what I'm saying? To you always want to give yourself room to learn.
Yeah.
But at this point, you walk into a room and you've accumulated all these different accolades and all these different skill sets. I've produced everybody from Robert Glasper to Luther Vandross. So it's like you walking in with all of this knowledge. I consider myself an expert now, but even still, like I said, you give yourself room to learn. Sitting in the studio with Herbie Hancock, producing Herbie, that is a different, a different perspective. So then when I go in the studio with like a, Lil TJ, or if I'm in the studio with, a younger artist like a YK Osiris, something like that, at that point I can implore the knowledge that I have, onto what they do, and they're trying to make their thing, even more legit, Yeah.
How much does an artist's past catalog affect when you're going in with the artist? Like how much does
that's
that
a good
affect
question.
The sound that you come up with?
It has some merit because you want to find. You'll find the personality. Now mind you, this person may be in a different space in their life when they come to you. Yeah. So you have to be aware of that too. You know what I mean? Because they may be like, I'm off that. I'm doing. You know what I mean? You might go to the studio with Bruno Mars and you think that we've seen 5 different Bruno Mars. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like you have to be wary of that. But I think that most artists, you take an artist like Monica, she's consistently Monica. You know what I mean? Even when you switch it up a little bit, her personality is gonna always shine through the way it's gonna shine through. So when you prep to go in the studio with Monica, I mean, my prep is different because she's like family, so just a conversation. But prepping to go in the studio with Monica, you're like, okay, I know her. Her records really scream out who she is. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's not much, much math there. It's like, okay. Listen to Knock Knock or listen to, any one of her records. So going, like, okay, that's mine. Let's figure, she's going to probably continue to make those kind of records or make those kind of situations, talk about those kind of situations.
We sound crazy.
No, baby, don't let it go. No, baby, don't get it now. Don't, baby, don't let it go.
Y'all know what this is.
Don't Forget About Us.
Yeah, listen.
Co-written and co-produced by our special guest this week, Bryan-Michael Cox. That's actually people. I love Don't Forget About Us more than We Belong Together.
Me too. It's an argument.
Me too.
It's an argument. I think that there's an interesting. There's always an interesting story with Mariah, right? Mariah.
Do share.
Well, because Mariah's like a. People always say, well, B. Cox, you're a musical encyclopedia. And I was like, I know a lot of old music and a lot of old records and stuff like that. But I think Mariah Carey is one of the most knowledgeable artists I've ever worked with.
Songwriters
when it comes to like music in general. You know what I mean? Just all genres, she knows music.
Yeah.
Knows songs, knows eras, knows all, you know what I mean? So she always comes with an idea or an example. Like she'll be like, so like what inspired this? That song was, we'll always have a conversation about, we always talk about 80s R&B, and she'll bring something random like, oh yeah, what about the, Melissa Morgan's version of Do Me Baby?
Which is a great record, by the way.
So he was like, and it was a hit for Melissa Morgan, and so it's like, okay, not Prince, because Prince's version was very, 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 very different than Melissa's version. So, listening to her, that is kind of where we kind of got the framework.
Interesting.
But Don't Forget About Us.
I didn't know that.
You know what I mean? Kind of, just where you get like, and there's another thing too about knowing records. I always have a point of reference, right? Yeah. So when she said that, I knew exactly. I was okay. We want this key. We want this energy. We're not going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to try to embody what it feels like, so she can write something that, she, will be emotional about.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because now I'm comparing the two songs in my head.
It doesn't happen by accident, folks.
No, there's a science to it.
There's a science to it.
So speaking of songs, I'm gonna put my co-host on Front Street right here. I need you to select your favorite, I guess today, your favorite composition from our special guest, Bryan-Michael Cox. What song would you say is your favorite? God. It could be your favorite song today or just in general.
Come on, you look like you're ready.
There are two on my heart right now.
On my heart. Testify, bro.
One, Bad Habit, Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
Man, that was mine, bro. Come on, man.
Really?
Yeah.
And then there's a record that, I don't know if I was supposed to hear this, but there's a song you did called Back and Forth with Brandy.
Yeah.
That I absolutely love. So so those two.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, Love All Over Me with Monica too. Yeah.
Stop throwing out options.
It was one. It was one.
Right. It was one.
It's just so many. It's just so many.
I'm gonna say for sure Be Without You, Mary.
Yeah.
Because I've just never heard a more perfect R&B song.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
It's the production, it's the vocal performance.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just has. Me and Chuck always talk about records that have that sheen.
Yeah, I learned so much. About music, making that song.
How you
so
mean?
Much. So the story behind the song is there was, we got a call about my manager Chris Hicks and my boy Damon. They were friends with Kendu, and Damon was trying to get us on the project, get Noontime on the project, so Kendu weren't really rocking with us, you know what I mean? Just to keep it, in the beginning, because they had joints, they had Raphael Sadiq already, they had, they had joints for the breakthrough that were incredible already, you know what I'm saying? So he felt, as he should have, he was very confident about
what they had,
you know what I'm saying? And then, with much, push, they gave us an opportunity. And my boy Dave Young and Justice League, they sent a record called No One Else Would Do, or something like that, but like fire record.
Yeah. And
it just changed Kendu's whole perspective on our crew, right?
Okay.
So then at that time, Mariah's record, We Belong Together, was blowing up, and a lot of people believe that I made that record, but I didn't make that record. It's funny, that's in the middle of making that Mariah album, there was a disconnect with me and JD that was just really frivolous and crazy. It shouldn't even happen, but it was a disconnect that happened. So I made Shake It Off, and I made a song called Let Me Get Your Number with them. And then I was supposed to come back and do We Belong Together, but then the disconnect happened and I couldn't come back. So then in the middle of so they made We Belong Together. That was something, me and Mariah, that's something they did maybe the week.
I did not know this.
Second week that I didn't make it back. I couldn't come back.
Okay.
Whatever happened, I'm not going to get into what happened, but whatever happened, I couldn't come back in that period. So I had a lot of other work to do anyway, so it didn't really affect me because I was hella busy anyway. And so I get the call about Mary. And the call, it was Jimmy Jimmy Iovine and Kendu, they called with Chris on the phone and like, hey, everybody thought I co-produced We Belong Together. So he was like, hey man, we need a record like that Mariah record. And I was like, which one? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because there were two out, and one was one I co-produced, and one was something that
Shake It Off was out.
Shake It Off was out. So and one was something that Jermaine Emmanuel did. So I was like, which one? You know? He was like, the one that's out now, you know, the rhythmic ballad, you know? I was like, oh, you say We Belong Together. I said, oh yeah, I didn't do that. I said, you might want to call the people who did that song. Because what I didn't want was to not acknowledge that, take the job, and then somebody here that I said, you know what I mean?
It would have seemed shady.
Yeah, so I was like, yo, I didn't do that song. So you might want to call them, call JD, talk to him, because I didn't do that song. Yeah. Right? So then he was like, well, I'm on the phone with you. Like, can you make me a song like that? And I was like, well, I can absolutely make a song like that. I can make a song, you know, just as good. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's what I do.
You didn't lie.
You didn't lie.
You didn't lie, bruh.
So that's what prompted me to make Be Without You, right? When I went to the studio, I was like, what is the most simple, basic chord progression I could write? Like what, like,
less is more.
Let's not use all 10 fingers.
Right.
Let's use 4 fingers. 3, 1. Or 3, 1. What is the most simple thing? But before I even did that, I played the chorus. Bing, bing, bing. Then I was like, I do one thing that's like accidental. Accidental. So it was like, but how do I make this interesting? And I'm a melody guy. Yeah. Like every song I have, piano with melody.
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm like, so I just created the melody. I literally made the 8-bar sequence for Be Without You in like 3 minutes. But it was like, what's the easiest thing I do? What's the easiest drum pattern? Boom, boom, boom.
I'm so upset right now.
You know what I'm saying? I said, what's the easiest? Let me find this clap. Let me find this kick. What's the easiest hi-hat pattern? I did the most basic track I could come up with. And I said, okay, I got my 8 bars up. The only thing that was a little bit extensive was the string pads that I put under it. But everything was super basic. So I said, okay, cool. And my cousin Jason's walking by the door, and I'm like, I need a bridge. And I was like, I could write the bridge, but I'm like, JP, man, come here and do this bridge. That's how my cousin JP got on the song. Came in, I said, I need 4 bars. He came up with 4-bar progression. I finished the 4 bars. I called Jonte, hey, yo, I got this song, I got this track up.
Master songwriter.
Can you come to the studio? He was like, yeah, so play the track over the phone for me. What you got? So I played the track over the phone for him. And I was like, yeah, I mean, Mary's married now. We just kind of talking through. And he's like, all right, I'm on the way. So I'm like, cool. My engineer tracks it out, Sam tracks it. Jonte walks in. He said, play it again. Press play. He said, I got it. Went in the studio, sang the whole song down. That's how it happened. Sheesh. So I'm assuming that he probably was writing it on the way to the studio. Right. Got to the studio, sang the whole song down, right? Did all the background vocal, just demo. And then we sent it to Kendu and Mary. They heard it. Kendu cuts the vocal that night with her.
Wow.
He says, they had to set up at the crib. He's like, I'm cutting this song right now. He cut the song with her that night, right? Cut with her rough vocal, right? So I'm thinking, okay, cool, we're making progress.
Right.
I get a call like a week later from Jimmy. He's like, yo, you think you could let my guy, Ron Fair, touch this? And I was 1,000% against it initially. Like,
really?
Like, hell no. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you know what I mean? Like, no. You know, because I mean, you understand, at that point in my life too, there was so much happening, and I felt like all of my wins were always attached to somebody else. Even my solo things I was having, I just felt like, no, this is for me. Either it's gonna happen this way or it's not gonna happen.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I was adamantly against it. And then Chris called me and was like, yo, let's go have a cup of coffee. You know? And then we was like, yo, Bryan, you should probably consider doing this. You letting him touch it. And then you and him could work together. This, you know, and explain to me, and of course I was aware who Ron Fair was. He's a legend. He was already, you know, he was the chairman of the company. You know what I mean? I was, you know, so, and Chris is like, you want to lose this opportunity? You know, because I was just like, nah, I'm not doing it. And he was like, I said, I'm not gonna lose the opportunity. I got on the phone with Ron. Ron told me what he wanted to do. We sent the files. Then I ended up going to see him. And Ron took my string arrangement and completely flushed it out, like made it this thing.
He's the king of strings.
Just, I mean, completely flushed the arrangement out. Added, I mean, just all these different colors and different things. And then the first time I ever saw the program Melodyne, I don't even think it was Melodyne yet, but because you know everybody was using auto-tune.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to tune her vocal. Yeah. Even though you know Mary could get pitchy, but all artists could be pitchy. Right. But it just felt so good. I was like, I don't want to tune her vocal. Like we gonna go Mary. We're gonna go Mary.
Yeah.
But then he showed me this program, and we were able to just kind of like, you know, nudge a few things up, nudge a few things down. You know, we didn't go crazy with the tuning. Right? And I was like, oh snap! Because I was an alternative to tuning than auto-tune, because I didn't want that sound. You know what I mean? And we reworked the bridge.
Perfection. And
you know, I'm grateful for Ron Fair. I learned so much. I still learn from him. He's still a great friend. We still talk all the time. But I learned so much from that one interaction, that session with him. And how we made it the record that it ended up becoming.
Yeah. You know what's the story behind the Kendu mix?
Okay, no. So Ron and Kendu were having a battle because Ron did a take of a vocal. He did a vocal take of hers too for the song, right? Okay. So Kendu did the original vocal. We tuned that vocal, but then he had her come in and do another. Ron was like, I need a better take. You can do. I can get a better take out of you. They do another take, and then they go to the A&R meeting, and they play both versions. Unanimously, the room is like, we like that version, and it was Kendu's vocal, right?
Wow.
So Kendu tells me this, out of spite, he labeled the thing Kendu mix. Ron labeled it Kendu mix. Like they didn't do that. Mary didn't do that. Kendu didn't do that. Ron did that to kind of like, if it flops, it's gonna be your name. Your name on it. It ended up being her biggest record. And I think that backfired on us. You know,
because obviously
when things go bad,
then right? It's so attached to it.
Yeah, which is why she doesn't sing it to this day.
I don't know why, but we can deduce that that's probably why.
Candace say that's my pet peeve.
Yes,
my pet peeve is when artists of her stature, and I understand because it's emotional. And it's your life. I get it.
And we were writing it. It was inspired by them.
Their love.
It was inspired by what they were. Where they were in.
The fans want to hear that song.
Such a great song.
I think she'll find a reason to sing it again. You know what I mean? I'm hopeful. Somebody had told me, me and Jonte did another thing with her recently. We did the Color Purple soundtrack with her. So we all still love each other. We still great friends. And we still work together. I think she'll find a reason to sing it again. You know what I'm saying? She's selling out tours now, but whether it's,
it's such a victorious record. Like it's just the one.
And people it's still the number one R&B song of all time.
Yeah.
Even if she's not singing the song. It's almost like I'm not singing it because I don't want the numbers to go up. But it's like the numbers is up. The numbers is up. And nothing you can do about it. Right. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
We sound crazy.
He Can't Love You by Jagged Edge. Written and produced by a special guest this week, Bryan-Michael Cox. Actually, last episode we had Jagged Edge on the show. And we were talking about those early times, like that beginning. That's what do you hear when you hear like songs like from Jagged Edge? Like, what do you think? What comes to mind? What memories?
Just excitement, right? You know, I was young. I signed a Noontime when I was 19. It just feels like youth. It feels like, you know, flip phones and two-way pages. You know what I'm saying? You know, it just feels like, you know, we were, you know, I had no money, but it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what was on the other side of that. I just knew that, you know, I'm in the studio, I'm doing something that I love with a group of guys who I'm super fans of, and I'm thankful and grateful. And they taught me so much. Like Jagged Edge taught me how to make records. They taught me what a record should sound like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if a record like he can't, it's like two. I remember we were making that. I was making that song. I'll never forget it. Noontime had 4 studios, so like they had 2 production rooms, and then there were like 2 main rooms. And I was in the B room working with Jagged, and I remember we were making the song, and I remember people just kind of kept coming in like
picking their head in.
Because I knew that particular song, something was on it.
Yeah.
Because people just kept coming in like, what y'all in here working on? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is this song y'all working on? You know what I mean? And I just remember that synergy. Everybody was like buzzing about this song at the studio. Like, yo, B. Cox and them, the twins, they working on something that's crazy. And I just remember that. And I remember always keeping that like, okay, how do I always make people come into the room?
Yo, listen, because that studio environment back then, where like it'd just be a line, everywhere, it'd just be rooms, right?
Rooms.
And you be playing your shit loud. And the whole idea was, first of all, you'd walk out in the room and see whose name was like, I'm like, oh, Faith gonna be in Studio B? Okay, cool. So-and-so gonna be in Studio C. So now you know that you gotta come correct with your shit because they might accidentally walk into your shit or just hear it playing. But so much work happened that way.
Oh yeah, especially back in the day, like Record Plant back in the day.
Record Plant,
you know what I mean?
Hit Factory, on them places. You just end up on a bridge or end up producing or playing on some shit because there was just that
synergy.
During your Noontime days, were you, as far as the other producers, Jazzy Faye, Teddy Bishop, were you influenced by them, or were y'all trying to be? Because y'all all had separate sounds.
Yeah, but we were all together though. Like Jazzy and Teddy are the reason why I even got the Noontime. I signed Noontime. So I interned at Noontime, right? I was an intern and I really was just trying to make some money. I was like an assistant engineer. They were paying me a certain amount of money. You know what I'm saying? Chris made it clear he wasn't looking for no producers at the time. So I was like, yo, I just wanted to get in a studio. I felt like I came to Atlanta. I was going to school, and all I needed was just one foot inside of somebody's studio, and I was just trying to get, try to get on anywhere I could in any studio. This Noontime offered me an opportunity to be an intern. Then I kind of moved to be assistant engineer to my boy Mike Wilson, and then I started engineering Eric Roberson sessions. That's how I met Jarrell, Eric. That's how I kind of met my tribe of people, and then. What started happening was I was saving my money. So like, let's say I was getting like $150 or $200 every time, they throw me a couple $100. I would just put it in a shoebox or save it or give it to my girl to put away or whatever. And I looked up and I was like, I had saved like, $2,000. So you're a college student, $2,000 is like $2 million.
That's a lot of money.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, I remember the strategy I had was, that's nothing too, when you want to do something or you want to aspire to do something, you got to have strategy. So I sat there and I thought, like, what can I do to get past being just an intern or assistant engineer? So, okay, I have $2,000 saved. Why don't I tell them, hey, I will come and work for free. Just give me a key to the studio. So when people are not here, I can just have my way. Just learn everything, make all the mistakes on my own, learn the patch bay, learn everything you learn. You know what I'm saying? And I remember going to Noon like, hey man, you ain't got to pay me no money if you give me a key. And Noon was like, what? The key, here's the code, you know what I mean? And I just started kind of chipping away, right? And I never forget, because I never worked on an MPC 3000. When I was in Houston, I learned how to produce on a computer. So my boy Greg Curtis was the guy who like basically mentored me and taught me how to produce in Houston. And he had a computer. So that's how I learned. So when I came to Atlanta, everybody was using MPCs and I didn't know nothing about an MPC. So I remember my first time cutting on the MPC when I had to figure out how to program. And I couldn't find a manual nowhere. You know, the manuals get lost, crazy. So they have a button on the MP that says help. And it shows each section, you can press help and it'll tell you what each section does. Right, so that's basically how I learned how to program a drum machine. And then what happened was Teddy Bishop, Jazzy Faye, they'd be coming in every day. They go to their room, they making beats, they come in every day like, hey man, this kid is here before we here, he's here after.
Yep.
This kid is really in there trying to figure it out. So they would start kind of like giving me like tips. So Teddy would come in like, what you trying to do? I'm trying to do so. Okay, well, this is the best way to do it this way, da-da-da-da. And I would apply it and learn, okay, cool. And I would practice. Jazzy would do the same thing. So what happened was, and I always tell people, you never know who's watching.
You never know.
You never know who's paying attention. What happened was, they went back to Noon, like, hey man, I don't know what you guys are doing with this kid, but he's like really learning fast and he's gonna make hits one day. And you're not gonna want him to not be a part of this. Like he's gonna learn how to make hits, and if we don't do nothing about this now, he's gonna be somewhere else soon, because he's learning fast. And then Noon approached me like, yo man, you know, your work ethic speaks for yourself. I didn't play Noon no music. I didn't play Noon any music. Never heard any tracks. He was just like, yo, your work ethic is speaking for yourself. People are talking about you. I want to do a deal with you. I want to sign you. Wow. And that's how I got started Noontime.
Yo, it's a lesson in tenacity. It's a lesson in dedication. It's a lesson in like drive.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, that's how I got on too. When you need me to be there, I'm there. What kind of song do you need today?
What do you need?
What do you need?
Yeah.
And then people start to realize like, yo, this is not just for fun and games. Like they want this.
They want it.
And God bless the people that see that in you. Don't take advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And give you that little helping hand or just the encouragement or those tips.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because everyone has those guardian angels along the way.
Yeah.
When you were saying like, yo, you learned how to make records with Jagged Edge.
Yeah.
It took me down the rabbit hole of like, I was like, yo, that's Akon for me. He was just he was same thing. He's like, yo, less is more. And do it this way and structure it this way. And you trying to get to the people, that's what they're gonna dance to. And it was just like, I learned how to make records, how to polish them and make them make sense. So God bless those people, man, because you don't get anywhere without a couple people helping you like that.
True.
We sound crazy.
Just be a man about it. From the one and only, as Tamar says, Tony Braxton, living legend.
Living legend.
Yeah.
I would agree, living legend.
Shout out to, but yeah, I want to ask you, Brian, like, what is your thoughts on the current state of R&B music?
I think that, we are on the upswing. I think that vibes kind of saved the genre when the genre was in a low point. But I think now we have to, now we gotta progress past vibe. You know what I mean? I think now, you look at these other genres, people are really writing hooks. They
sure are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that for me, the number one thing that kind of brought it to mind for me was the success we had with Muni Long this year.
Yes.
It's a song.
It's a fucking
song. It's a song.
It's a song.
It's, you know what I mean? And I don't want people to take that lightly. I don't want them to take the fact, it's a lot of vibes out here. People just what they call. I was on the phone with an executive, and he called the genre streaming R&B. And I knew exactly what he meant when he said that. You know what I mean? Versus like, what's a hit?
Yes.
He's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like what's his numbers? This is streaming R&B. Like this song is not that song. but this song is making money because, this platform, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that could be a false sense of reality for, or maybe either for us or for them. I don't know what matrix, you know what I'm saying? But it could be a false sense of reality because I feel like at some point you're gonna have to go to like the stratosphere. We have a lot of artists, a lot of R&B artists that are just kind of hovering.
Yes.
They're making it, and it's a false sense of reality because you're making money, and you're quote unquote independent, you're on all the playlists, and it feels like something, and then, you'll do something a little different and it'll break out, and you think that that's it. And then Priscilla will come with a record, and
man.
I'm
gonna tell you something that I think is a good example that you and JD have set. Beyond just the fact that it's a great record, right? Both Money and Ari coming to you is important because in this world now where it's about, there's a lot of pride that I'm doing it myself, I'm independent, and the whole thing. What I've learned from just doing We Sound Crazy is that most artists don't know what their biggest hit is.
True.
They're really bad at picking their biggest hit.
True.
So it's great. It's good for artists to come to people that have a good sense of that and say like, yo, I'm doing it. I'm working out here, but this is what you do.
Yeah.
And rebuilding that trust, because a lot of the problem is that trust between artists and labels, artists and producers, artists and songwriters has been so broken.
Yeah.
That they don't trust anymore. So everyone's trying to write their own songs when maybe they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And they're putting it out before it's
a lot
produced or mixed properly.
It's a lot of that.
But then when you hear Pressure and you hear Made for Me, you're like, that's what it sounds like when all the stars are in alignment.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping there's more of that because I think that's a big part of it too. Is that for those of us who make it, we want to help make it great.
You said in a recent interview that the church influence was missing out of R&B. Do you still think that's the case?
I agree.
I think that a lot of what we are is directly aligned with the church or a direct path from the church, right? You think about everybody that we grew up loving from an R&B perspective. You say Jodeci, Boyz II Men, you could just go down a list of the artists of the 90s, you know what I'm saying? Faith. You could just go down a list of artists that we love, even Drew Hill, all of them. You know what I mean?
R&B was just churchy.
It was churchy.
You know what I'm saying? It was just churchy.
Yeah, it was always a direct path.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
From the church to R&B. So I think that what's happened is that a lot of kids aren't going to church no more.
Yeah.
And in the church you do go to, it's not like the big gospel choirs and all the stuff that used to happen when we were coming up. It's not like that now.
It's super CCM now.
Praise and worship groups. Maybe 10 people. 12 people up there, and it's no.
Everybody got a mic.
Yeah, it's no hooping and hollering. It's no. It's very, very reserved praise and worship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From a musician perspective and from a singing perspective. But ain't nobody up there really tearing the house down no more.
No. Nope.
It's
It's dialed in.
It's very, very dialed in. You know what I mean? So I think that I do agree that church, like the church that I know, is missing from the R&B. Because think about it too, right? We grew up in church. That's your first stage.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the first,
and it's a big stage. You have to be good. You have to be good.
You got to give glory to God. You got to make them people believe that you believe what you think or what you're doing, and so they can get an emotional reaction. It's like what they call charismatic now was normal for us growing up. And now it's the charismatic movement. When you have the Holy Spirit, that's charismatic now. But when we were coming up, that was just what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So. Yes, I do believe that's what's missing.
I want to ask you, Bryan, what 5 songs or 5 albums influence who you are as a writer, producer, musician?
That's a good question. It's really interesting because there's so many albums. I can't. I know I can't narrow down to 5, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
I will say that a huge influence on my life was Kashif's first album, 1983, his self-titled album. I just remember that music resonating in my mom's house and being obsessed with the sounds, being obsessed with records like Help Yourself to My Love and records like, Stone Love and records like, I Just Gotta Have You. Like that album is very, very important to, it's a very major key to like why I even make music. Okay. I would say Guy's first album. Because Teddy was just, coming off of Keith Sweat and coming off of I'll Be Sure. And he just redefined what R&B was supposed to sound like. Yeah. You know what I mean? He has a genre. Yeah. Like, I don't know any producer that
has his own
genre, New Jack Swing. And producers were actually buying into that. Like, people started producing like him.
Yes. Yo, he just said, I don't know another producer that has their own genre. And that's facts.
He has his own genre. Yep. Teddy Riley has his own genre. New Jack Swing is synonymous with Edward Theodore Riley, period. There's
nobody else.
I mean, the other producers that came in and out.
Yes.
But even when you have Jimmy and Terry, like playing with it on the Johnny Gill, Rub You the Right Way, they trying to do New Jack Swing, and LA Babyface trying to do New Jack Swing.
Michael had to come knocking like, hey.
You know what I mean? So,
I too would like some of that New Jack
Swing.
Swing.
Like Dangerous is considered a New Jack Swing album. Yeah. It's like the biggest. Like he created that genre. It's all Teddy.
That's crazy. Right.
So God's first album. That's 2. I would say 3 would be like this is a good one. 3 would be Prince, Sign of the Times. Because it was such a defining album for him at the time. It was the shift from movie star, Purple Rain, and he had Purple Rain, he had Under the Cherry Moon, and he had Parade, and back-to-back successes. But then you could feel this inspiration kind of dwindling down, and him probably not being as inspired by his surroundings with the revolution. Then he makes that break, and then here comes Sound of the Times, which is like,
You know who made me actually do a deeper dive on that album? Funny enough, one of our mutual friends, Mariah. I was at her house and she played this album, and it was, I didn't never unpacked or went that deep in that album, but she was like, no, listen to this joint. And it like, it's the album.
It's one of, to me, it's his magnum opus.
I'm about to go back and do my
Ballad of Dorothy Parker.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's his best album.
Okay.
Like, and we talking about Prince has a lot of albums.
He has many albums.
And a lot of great albums.
I'm
Diamonds and Pearls.
Tonight.
But Sound of the Times is his best album.
Yeah. I'm listening tonight per your two's request. I'm sure I'm gonna love it because I know a lot of the albums, but I want to focus on that one.
I think number 4 for me, which was a real game changer for me. It actually changed everything for me as a producer. It changed how I even viewed music and made me really want to do it. Jodeci's Diary of a Madman. That first side, man.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing that sounds like it.
It's so bold.
There's nothing. I mean, the opening, the first song, it sounds like a concert.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It does.
And that's what I mean by church too. It sounds like it sounds like you're at like the
best church concert. Exactly. You know when you're like, oh, it's about to be the best concert ever.
The very beginning of it starts like we are. It's the craziest intro I've ever heard in my life. It's so loud, it's so present, it's so musical, but it's also so ghetto.
Yes.
But it's also all these vocals stacked. It sounds like they're a choir. It's just that it was nothing that
otherworldly.
It's just out of control, right? And I think that for me, you have to say
this is number 5, right?
I mean, I could go 20.
I know.
Really, I can go 40. But this is the 5th one. I would say that inspired, like really, really inspired me. And this guy's one of my favorite producers. I would say Faith Evans' first album. So her self-titled album, you gotta give Chucky Thompson rest in peace.
Rest in peace to Chucky. Yes.
I think that is a defining moment, not only for her, but for the label.
Listen.
Yes.
You know, it's a defining moment. And you understand why Mary was mad at Puff. When you you know what I mean?
Of course you mad.
You understand. It's
That's
like,
a perfect R&B album.
You're going to get my producer and You know, you're gonna give her a tuck in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, faith is faith.
Faith is faith.
Yo, I'm so glad you said that because that album is so classic.
It's classic.
Come over as soon as I get home.
Reasons.
Reasons.
Let me tell you something. Because Rob,
No Other Love.
We were coming up. Glasper wasn't really like an R&B guy. He's the one who put me on the jazz, like you know, Kenny Kirkland, Oscar Peterson, Chick Corea, you know, all that stuff. He wasn't really like R&B, but we would how we discovered music together. We ride to school together, and he would play something, and then I would play something with my our other best friend Troy would play something. And that's how we would discover music. And I never get. I played him Reasons, right? And when I say this boy, we would play this song over and over and over. You know what I mean? Like over and over and over and over again. Like, it was just kind of like, what is this song?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the last song on the album. It's like super random. It's like, yo, what is this?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, today, those are my 5.
I love that you gave that album that much praise.
Oh, yeah.
Faith deserves that much praise.
Oh, yeah.
Period. Live show killer, studio killer.
Studio pen killer.
Pen killer.
Crazy.
Yeah, nah, real talk.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Later vocal killers.
Yeah.
Her background.
Man.
Like Faith Evans is
cold.
You know, we have our legends, our Marys, our Mariahs.
Yes.
You know, but Faith Evans is a silent killer, man.
A silent killer.
Silent killer.
Silent killer.
We sound crazy.
Got your home. You know. Finally we are alone tonight.
Got You Home.
Yeah.
From the late great Luther Vandross.
Yes.
I had the pleasure executive producing Luther's documentary.
Yes,
Luther
you did.
Never
Amazing
Too Much.
documentary.
Yes, you did.
Amazing.
Yes, you did.
But in the midst of, as we're researching and, doing some things, preparation for the doc, and there's some gems that I found out along the way, one of which, that was the last song Luther recorded.
Yep.
Produced by you.
Yep. Yep.
Really?
Bryan-Michael Cox.
Yep. So I had sent me and Harold Lilly would always work together time and time again, and Harold would come to Atlanta and we'd do like a few songs he did. You know what I mean? So he came. It was one of the visits he came, and me and my boy Jason Rome actually did that track together. And Harold came down. He wrote this song. He was like, "Yo, I'm gonna play this for Luther. I'm gonna go play this for Warren and play it for Luther, and see if they like it." I was like, cool, because he wanted to make like a part 2 or take you on, but I'll take you out. You know what I'm saying? So they played it for Larry and Clive. They liked it. Luther loved it, and they went in to cut it. And I was supposed to come, like, Luther did like it was like a rough. First of all, that's like Luther's rough.
Probably his rough.
Okay, we were supposed to come back and do it for real.
Yeah.
That was the plan. Like, okay, because we're gonna set the time up, we'll come back and do it for real. I just wanted to lay it, and that's just him just laying it. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy,
right? So then we were gonna do it, and then he ended up having a stroke, and then so we never got a chance to go and do the vocal again.
I didn't realize it was that close.
It was that close.
Wow.
Like he cut the record and I'm willing to say it might have been a week. I mean, it was he had a stroke before I could come to New York.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is that one take is what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And it was just kind of like, and then as he deteriorated and he ended up passing, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, we'll never get an opportunity to get that book. But I was like, but I got that.
Yeah.
I got that one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and we just held on to it. And I remember Larry had called me one day, was like, yo, man, let's just go ahead and mix it. Because they did like a compilation thing, album form. And he was like, let's just mix the song and put it out. I was like, okay, cool. And so we mixed it and put on the thing. And so that's how I got into the world.
You work with so many people. I'm gonna ask the opposite question. Is there someone that you just have not crossed paths with, or that you just really want to work with and it hasn't happened yet? Because everyone has a couple of those folks that you just have not gotten in the studio with, or even connected.
That's a really good question. I've worked with a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of SZA. I would love to work with her.
I would like that combo.
Yes.
I've never worked with her. Ironically, of course, I'm doing work with LBRN, but ironically, the first time I ever got in the studio with Summer, which has been this past year. So we worked on something for her new album that's coming out.
Yeah.
So that was exciting because I really wanted to work with her. And that was I got that out.
I'm interested. I can't wait to hear that.
But yeah, I would say SZA. I would say Brent Faiyaz. I think that there's something I could offer for him as a producer, and just because he's so, I think that he has a potent sound. I think that he has a unique sound. He don't sound like nobody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that quality of an artist when you don't sound like somebody. I've known Leon for a long time. I'd like to work with him. Yeah. We've never worked together on.
Leon is dope.
I'd like to work with him. I like Leon Thomas a lot. I mean, really, it's a lot of the newer, younger artists I like to work with, because I've worked with a lot of the legends already. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'd like to spin the block with Beyonce in this space. Yeah. We were kids together.
Right.
And then I did the Destiny Child, this fulfilled. Yeah. I'd like to spin the block with Beyonce, and Kelly this time around. You know what I'm saying?
As the musicians you are now.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I'd like to spin the block with them. And me and Kelly, we already in conversations about spinning the block. Me and Tim already had a conversation about it. But I'd like to spin the block with them.
That had to one of the absolute best songs Kelly's ever recorded.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that'd and that's my girl. Like when I realized that it was going to be Kelly's solo song, that was okay, cool. We're gonna make this. I'm trying to make this the best song on the album. I mean, granted, they have a lot of great songs on the album, so I can't say. But I was, I was gunning for, I needed Kelly to have a moment that was gonna be like a moment. And it ended up being a moment for her, and I'm glad that I was able to be a part of helping that shine that light on her on an album.
Me and Kelly spin the block. If y'all watching and listening, I know Kelly watches.
No,
spin the
block. Me and Kelly we're already spinning the block. We're gonna make that happen. But I think Beyonce, I think that there's something to be done there. I think that there's something to be done with me and her as far as like really getting the proper couple records done.
I love that.
What makes Bryan-Michael Cox want to work with an artist? Like, what is it that you need to see or hear or feel when when someone asks you that question, like, who do you want to work with? Like,
I just got to be moved. You know what I mean? I think that also I'm also inspired to just work. We creating something out of nothing every day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, just that alone is something that is inspiring to me. Like, it's like, if I get in the studio with someone so, like it, especially if I'm feeling it, you know what I mean? If I'm feeling like, I like this combo, like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Just that alone, because you feel like, if I'm not working, then what am I doing? Yeah, that's really my perspective. Is like, it's like, I don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I don't, you know what I mean? It's like we gotta, luckily our catalogs are like, safes, we've been able to, accumulate,
quite a
titles,
catalog.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that financially, I'm always safe in regards to that. But it's like, still, the hunger, the grind, like, yo, man, I got to get up and go get whatever's going to happen. And for me to stay, it's important for me to stay on the ground. It's important for me to stay, I use the word relevant because relevant is relative. But it's important for me to be in the mix. Yeah,
aware.
It's important for me to have my name ringing off of the young people's, mouths. You know what I'm saying? And which I think is really difficult in this space for somebody who's been in the business as long as I've been in the business. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have people who are like culture people, like a Pharrell, like a Kanye, or like, you know what I mean? That their culture, their brand surpasses just music. They are an entity. It's not just about the music. They could stop doing music today and they'll still be, you know what I mean? For a person like me, or a person like Tricky Stewart, or a person like, Jermaine Dupri transcends music too, but his main thing is music also, you know what I mean? For people like us who have been in the game as long as we've been in the game, and still, like Tricky producing Tyler, and executive producing Muni Long's album, like that, you know what I mean? It's, we still out here. Yeah. That is a difficult task. Because look at everybody that we was with 20 years ago. Like it ain't a whole lot of them
out doing anything.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's Pharrell, it's Kanye, it's Timbaland. It's always going to be Timbaland because his brand is just bigger than like. But for him, it's still very, very music based. Though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ain't a whole lot of us, you know, still here doing it at this level where we hadn't changed our career path.
That's why we said royalty.
Yeah.
We meant royalty.
We sound crazy. I didn't know that I'd find someone who treats me like you do. Yeah.
MVP. By Jack Freeman.
Yeah.
Written and produced by our guest, Bryan-Michael Cox.
Yeah. Yeah, me and my boy Adonis, the great.
Adonis Sharpshire, of course.
Yeah.
Amazing songwriter as well.
Yeah, it's my dog.
Let's play a quick game because you know you two know a lot of music, right? Yeah. And have big opinions about stuff. Let's play Keep or Kill real fast with B Cox, all right? Either or.
Okay.
You know the rules. Let's just start big and bad. Michael Jackson or Prince, Keep or Kill. Notice how I said bad in there.
Oh man, I am going to. Oh man, this is that is terrible.
That's when I want to start.
It's just start big. Start big. Yeah. Because it really depends on what day. And today I'm going to keep Prince and I'm going to kill Michael Jackson. Today.
Okay.
Hard.
No, it's
hard.
fair. It's fair.
It's hard. But today.
I respect.
You touched on Kashif earlier.
Yeah.
This might go over some people's heads, but Howard Johnson or Lilo Thomas?
Howard Johnson.
Yeah.
Clearly. He had the best songs.
Yes.
Had the better songs, yeah.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind, and Fire or the Ozzy Brothers?
Ooh. Killing me, Phil. God, dog. I have to say the Isley stuff. We're talking about 1959 to 2025. You know, Earth, Wind, and Fire is fantastic. They are one of the most influential bands in the history of bands, but the greatest American band.
Yeah.
In the world, the greatest band is the Isley Brothers. There's nobody better than them.
That's facts.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody better than them.
Songwriting or producing?
As of late, it's been songwriting for me. Melodically, coming up with concepts. My notepad is full. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you know what I'm saying? Lately, it's been songwriting. Producing comes so easy, and I hate to sound like that, but it's just ideas. Because now it's just rapid ideas, and then the song is the most important thing. And then we get the song finished, and then I come back and say, okay, now we got this song that I love. Now let me do all of the things from a producer perspective to flush it out. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it's songwriting. I think because I'm spending a lot, you know, me and Jermaine are like, you know, we complete each other's sentences musically. Yeah. So he's really, you know, reeled me in from a writing perspective like that. I'm starting to really enjoy it again, and then really, you know, get into that space.
That's dope.
The Breakthrough or Emancipation of Mimi?
Oh, The Breakthrough for me. Yeah, that was a little easier because, you know, The Breakthrough was something that I was able to stand on my own 2 feet with. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, do all the things, the politic things, and fight with the label, and you know what I mean. You know, that was my battle. Versus Emancipation was, you know, a directive from LA to JD, and then JD calling me.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Boyz II Men or Jodeci?
Man, it's gonna be Jodeci for me. I love Boyz II Men though. It's gonna be Jodeci for me, just because it just that rugged R&B. That was just the vibe I was on in the '90s. That was the shit I was rocking. You know what I'm saying?
70s Stevie or 80s Stevie?
I know the genius period is in the 70s. Yeah. I know this, and I know that Songs of Kid Life, which is probably the best album ever created, was 1976. But I prefer 80s Stevie. Me too. I prefer 80s Stevie. I prefer That Girl, I prefer. You know, Woman in Red soundtrack, I prefer. In Square Circles, one of my favorite albums of all time.
Whereabouts
is
there's
not a song better than Whereabouts.
It's just not the best song.
Not one song.
Wow. Overjoyed on that album too.
Yes.
Like there's
Part-Time Lover.
So it's like, you know, and then you get later. I know people don't talk about characters, but characters as you will know.
Yes.
My Eyes Don't Cry No More. Like you know.
Yeah.
I prefer 80s Stevie.
People sleep on characters.
People sleep on characters. Yes. Skeletons is on the album.
Yes.
Characters is a great album.
Yes.
SWV or Escape?
Damn. Who influenced me the most? It would be SWV. Brian Morgan is.
Yeah, so you keeping them.
Yeah.
That's okay. I know the So Def connection of his family and
Escape is my girls. I love them. Kenny's my girl. All you know what I mean? And you know, and they have more songs, like more hit record. They have things that are culturally, Escape is probably more important, I think. But for like R&B, hip hop, Southern culture. SWV is a group that sing their ass off from New York City. It's glossy. It's something that kind of already, to me, I feel like they were gonna win.
That's so interesting. I've never heard that before. Maybe it's because I'm from New York.
I'm from the South, so
that's crazy.
For me, SWV is like the records were already so polished.
Yeah.
You know, I hear "I'm So Into You," or you know, when that first single, I'm like, oh, this is. It's clean. And New York had it. New York was prominent. So you're like, no, they're gonna make it. Like if you're from the South, you go, oh yeah, they're gonna make it. They from New York. They singing their ass off, and the songs are even though Brian's not from New York, but it has this gloss to it. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy. Perspective from region is crazy.
Is the Escape? It's just they were not supposed to make it. I mean, if you look at it, look at, Coco with the long nails and just the look of it, Escape wasn't supposed to be. Escape made it against all odds with ghetto, R&B. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Jermaine wasn't even considered. That was his. Jermaine's come out with Crisscross, right? Yeah. Columbia Records gives him a joint venture. What do you think Columbia Records thought he was going to bring? Another rap group or another. This man starts his record label with an R&B group. Yeah. He had never really written R&B songs before. Not that nobody had heard.
Right.
And he writes the whole album. He writes just kicking it. You know what I mean? Like this is like
that's visionary
that was unconventional. That wasn't supposed to be. So from a culture perspective, to me, Escape is more important. But who influenced me the most musically is SWV, because Brian Morgan is just a beast. It's nobody, he just Little Stevie, Little Charlie. That's Brian Morgan, you know what I'm saying?
Make some noise, keep it killed. Bryan-Michael Cox.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome.
Yeah.
We sound crazy.
Esther Roll
Award.
I can feel him moving. I can feel him moving on the altar of my heart. Every now and then.
It's that time. Looking at my Esther Rolly, it's about that time. So this is the point in the show where we call this the Esther Roll Black Excellence Award.
Okay.
And it's because the song you just heard is actually Esther Roll from her gospel album.
That's amazing.
The Garden of My Mind, which we didn't know until Timon put us on.
That's amazing.
That was so. Just the conversation that came from that is that there's so many things that Black talent has done that we don't celebrate. So this is our opportunity to nominate and give some love to somebody who may not get all the time. Okay. So you're part of the delegation now.
All right.
Delegation.
So we're gonna all throw out nominations and then we'll vote.
Man, We're not gonna do that today, bro.
I'm
making a motion.
Are you vetoing?
I'm gonna veto everybody's giving nominations because we're sitting with music royalty.
I happen to agree.
Yes, we are.
Music royalty.
I appreciate y'all brothers, man.
To me, it's Bryan-Michael Cox. Is it unanimous? Is it unanimous?
I mean,
all day, every day.
Appreciate y'all brothers, man.
Listen, I raised my hand.
I mean, this is the whole point of this show. Like, we want to highlight our greats and people while they can still smell their flowers.
Absolutely.
So,
Appreciate
Bryan-Michael Cox, congratulations.
Yeah, man.
You are this week's recipient of the Esther Roll.
100%, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, brother. I receive it. I appreciate you, brothers, man. For real.
And thank you for the continued inspiration. Yes, because you're leaving here to go to a session.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I gotta work harder, damn it. I gotta get on my grind.
Yeah.
You're leaving here to go to a session.
Yeah.
And that just shows you. I can feel, like, when you're around people, you can feel when they're in a good space, they're inspired, or when they're not. And like, it's radiant, like that you're excited.
Yeah.
About life, about music, about the possibilities, and there's a lot of people who have always looked up to you that are watching you, and it helps.
Yeah. I think for me too, I think that what happens, there's something I always keep in my front of my mind, right? So, Quincy Jones was 47 years old when he produced Off the Wall.
Say it all the time. Yep.
I'm 47 years old. You know what I mean?
The best is yet to come.
50, he produced Thriller, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
And then Quincy's life post-Thriller. Like, first of all, Quincy's life before Thriller is ridiculous.
Insane.
Right? Absolutely ridiculous. Like, he did everything.
Sinatra.
Yeah.
Just, did 100 films. The range, we're talking about Sinatra, Count Basie, Brothers Johnson.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's my party.
Like, it's my party.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and you think about the second half of his life, you know what I mean? After Thriller, I mean, he did
everything.
The Color Purple, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like
Vibe magazine,
and was still making records, and still, it's like, yo,
had a label.
Yeah.
For me, it's that is what keeps me inspired.
Yeah, it's more art to create. So this is why I think now I'm inspired to do my own album. and this is where this is where I put Bryan-Michael Cox on the spot to see if he will help produce
your album.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Filler is a tentative name for Filler. Not Thriller, but Filler.
Filler. We'll talk about it. I like we'll see what happens. See what the business is like. When we get them.
This is so good. Hey, make sure you follow us on all platforms at We Sound Crazy and WeSoundCrazy.com.
And shout out to our partners at Visit Music City. Thank you so much for your support.
Brian, because you are our illustrious guest, we allow our special guest to choose the song that takes this episode out. It could be anything. There's something that just feels like it was something that just encapsulates this conversation.
There
was so much music that we talked about.
That's a good one. Let me to be on there. To give my brother some love and show him some love. Let's go out with a little Robert Glasper, a little Cherish the Day. Robert Glasper, Layla Hathaway.
That is a fantastic choice.
You know what I'm saying? Let's do that.
With two of the greats themselves.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Until next week, y'all. We Sound Crazy. We out of here.
Peace.
I won't go astray. I won't be afraid. You won't catch me right.
We sound crazy.